Freedom of speech under attack by Facebook and YouTube.
There's a ban on singing in churches.
They are censoring typically very conservative, even Christian values.
When the world come to us and they say, listen, you need to stop speaking this message you've got. Well, good morning to everybody and welcome to Timeout. My name is Jackman. It's great to have you this morning. I want to start by saying your voice needs to be heard. Your voice matters. But before I get there, a shout out to all the Timeouters to say thank you for your support. Thank you for caring and sharing, and thank you for your comments. I read them and I appreciate them. Now, why is it important that our voices be heard? Why is it important that your voice be heard? And why does it matter? Last year, you may or may not know that towards the end of the year is the Jewish New Year, which is in September. I think the 29th it was, or the 28th. And the number for that amounted to the year, it was called the Year of the Mouth. And interesting, because out of the mouth is the voice. It says in Romans, I think Romans 10:10, it says, with our mouths confession is made unto salvation. Even as Christians, we believe that we need to speak out our voices to confess things before we can believe them in our hearts. So, why is it important then that just not many months afterwards in the world now, the confession in the Jewish New Year was the year of the mouth, but not many months later came the year of the mask, like the one behind me, where they were saying symbolically, close your mouth, and not just your mouth, your nose, and I'll get there in a moment, because there is a virus out there. Now, I want to say up front, I do respect the fact that there has been a virus, that it has killed people, and that we need to be responsible in facing it, and we need to know that it does affect people. But it somehow just makes me think that if I look at the world and our own country, that somehow the reaction to this virus has been so over the top, and you wonder, wasn't there a more responsible way to deal with this and help people than the way the world is portraying it? And symbolically, let me just say, when they close your mouth and they close my mouth, they remove our voice. We no longer can say something. And that's interesting, because in the Bible times, there used to be the prophets that used to speak what God is saying. And all of us, maybe not in the office of a prophet, but we can all be prophetic by saying we hear what God's saying and we repeat it. And so because that, we become prophetic. We become a voice to people in where they are. So in the world, there's always been the prophets that have spoken, and there's been those that have opposed the prophets and tried to shut them up. And I really believe that the false prophets, the modern false prophets today, are the media, especially the leftist liberal media. They want to shut anybody up that doesn't agree with them, and they want to tell us what they believe their voices are and what our voice should be. They want us to repeat what they are saying and not necessarily what God is saying. And they're taking away a right of ours. Now, in South Africa, we already have a communist agenda, because people we have come from China and from a communist countries to help us. They've annexed some of our assets, and now we also have socialists coming, and they are fighting for our minds. They are, through their values, want to influence the way we think. So not only are we losing some of our assets, we are also through the values that we are losing the way we think and the way we say things. So in South Africa, we got a double whammy. And we know that socialism and communism, anybody with intelligence knows, it's failed. As a matter of fact, it's got a history of failure. And not only that, it's impoverished people, and in many instances been responsible for the murders and killings of many people. So why is it then that we are embracing these ideologies? And in the world, especially in the first world, in the world that's is supposed to be a modern world, we find that socialism is getting a grip. The whole of Europe is involved with socialism at the moment. Canada, that was very conservative, is becoming socialistic. And in America, the leftist liberal socialists are wanting to topple everything there is to topple, and they want to shut up the voice of reason. They want to close our mouths. So it lets me wonder, was there agenda beyond what we're seeing in a virus that we could have gone in a different way? And they've said, no, we want to close your voice. But not only is that mask closing your voice, they say it's not enough. It also needs to close your nose. Now, you know, spiritually, when you no longer can confess things out of your mouth, you can't be saved in any situation. You can't be saved from any situation. And when you close your nose, the nose is always symbolic of discernment. When we as Christians can no longer speak, our voices are not heard, and we no longer can discern, we are at the mercy of those that have told us that whatever we need to hear or know, they will tell us. We're on a need-to-know basis. And we don't have to worry about discerning what they are saying is right. They have made and drawn that conclusion for us. A very dangerous thing, because you know, in the Bible there were the prophets, there were the false prophets that wanted to, of Baal, that wanted to wipe out the voice of God. And in the time of Elijah, one of the greatest prophets, you know, he had to run for his life because there was a Jezebel out there. And whenever there's a Jezebel, there's an Ahab that's refused to take responsibility. And she said, I'm going to shut up the mouth of Elijah. He's coming against me. He is opposing my message. And she was out to get him. And he ran away until God spoke to him and said, what are you doing here? Get back, and you sort out Jezebel, and you appoint the prophets, and you appoint a new king in place of Ahab. And so Elijah was even intimidated by this woman Jezebel because she wanted to shut up the prophets. Now, if a mighty man like Elijah could feel that way, how intimidated are you and I when the world come to us and they say, listen, you need to stop speaking this message you've got because it's dividing the world. I wonder if that's true. You need to put a mask over that, and you need to stop discerning because you don't really know. We know how to discern, and we will tell you what's right and wrong. Well, my friend, I want to say that when the day comes that we are at the mercy of those that speak on our behalf and that discern on our behalf, we are like sheep to the slaughter. And the Bible says an interesting thing in 1 Timothy 5. It says, don't muzzle the ox that treads out the corn. Don't muzzle the ox that is responsible to bring life. Don't muzzle the ox that's doing something good, because if you do, all that's going to stop. And maybe one day when we stop speaking, one day when our voices are not heard, one day when we choose not to discern but to believe what others tell us is right, we indeed are going to be like sheep to the slaughter. They will lead us there without us saying one word, and we won't even know it's happening because we no longer are discerning between right and wrong. I want to challenge you and encourage you. Your voice needs to be heard. Our voices are important, and our discernment is critical at this time. So speak out and confess that which you believe, and discern between right or wrong, and don't become like sheep led to the slaughter. God bless you. My name is Jack Vint, and you've been watching Timeout. I'll catch you next week.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song. I've delivered